Okay, we're live and ready, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Seldovia City Council, Monday, June 12th, 2023. Time is 6:05 p.m. And we'll go ahead and do roll call. Kennedy?
Here.
Swick?
Here.
Peyton, I don't see that she's signed on yet. Oh, she's going to be late. Keithley is going to be late. Sweat?
Here.
And Rojas?
Here.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. We're missing two at the moment, and we're expecting both of them to join us. And Liz or Heidi, if one of you will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, as we said during roll call, we do have a quorum. We have 4 present, and we are waiting for Peyton and Keithley to join us. Oh, there she is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Councilmember Peyton is here.
We now have 5 present. Let the record reflect. Okay, I'll look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second it.
Okay, we have a second to approve tonight's agenda by Rojas, second by Sweat. Any further discussion before we vote on the agenda approval? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on tonight's agenda approval. All those in favor, Kennedy?
Aye.
Swick?
Aye.
Peyton?
Aye.
Sweat?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0 with 1 absent. Item E, consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda consists of 1 item. That's the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, May 22nd, 2023. And as a reminder, all items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and 1 vote. The council member may request to remove any item for discussion and a separate vote. Items removed from the consent agenda will be placed under new business. Does any member wish to remove the 1 item that for further discussion that we have on the consent agenda tonight? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Peyton to approve tonight's consent agenda with a second by Swick. Any further discussion on the consent agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor, Kennedy?
Aye.
Swick?
Aye.
Peyton?
Aye.
Sweat?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0 with 1 absent. Okay, item F, mayoral proclamations. We have none tonight. Item G, public presentation prior notice. I don't see anyone listed. Item H, public presentation for items not on the agenda. And do we have anyone with their hand up, either in person or from the public, either in person or online?
Yes, I believe we have Laurel Hiltz.
Okay.
Oh, no.
There we go.
Can you hear me okay, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, we got you now, Laurel.
All right. I'm getting a feedback of myself, but it's not horrible. So if you guys are good, I'll go forward.
Yeah, that's better. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So just we're in our busy season and maybe the weather will catch up with the calendar. We're hopeful, optimistic, overly, I don't know, but glad that the day is good enough to get out and about and enjoy it. And so with that, of course, all the folks who are visiting the community and lots of activities going on around town at Seldovia Village Tribe, where we've been busy since school got out with the summer kids program and averaging 25 to 30 kids a day, Monday through Friday, doing all kinds of afternoon programming with a range from fine arts and traditional native arts and crafts to games at the school and ball field and hikes and exploring subsistence and harvesting. So that's being done by a whole plethora of our tribal staff and some folks even from our staff and Homer. So this week we'll have our culture camp happening for our preschool age group and our elementary age group, including native dance and song, other crafts and games, as well as we're going to be field tripping tomorrow to see the smolt get released, since that was rescheduled from Sunday to Tuesday. So great to be able to add that in. Lots going on there. And next week, I know the Seldovia Arts Council has a drama camp happening for kids who are 10 years and older. And Seldovia Village Tribe, as part of our summer kids program, we will have an emphasis on fine arts for all of those younger kids, 9 and under. So looking forward to that. And wow, that just rolls us into the end of June. And just a couple notes, we have a gathering, it looks like, for George and Ethan on Tuesday, the 27th at 4 p.m. at Seldovia Bible Chapel at the Boardwalk Hotel. So those are coming up. And then Jiminy Christmas, we're right into the 4th of July. So the chamber this year, so far, we haven't got somebody who is specifically coordinating the 4th of July festivities, but a big shout out to Ashley, who's putting in a lot of the heavy lift, and then a whole group of folks coming together to ensure that different activities are taking place. And so I know Heidi has some information I'm sure she'll share on the city side of things on what all's being done, but just lots of things being put into place to make that happen. Oh, and the Seldovia Arts Council has their festival, and you see them out there working on things. It's coming up this weekend, so it'll be the first outdoor one in their 20+ year history, weather permitting. So lots to support and encourage as folks are going about and doing all kinds of things to make the community a welcome place for not only our residents, but all our guests. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Laurel. Appreciate all those comments. Okay, do we have anyone additional, Liz, that would like to speak?
No, that's all we have for public comment.
Okay. All right, sounds good. We'll go ahead and move on to item I, Committee Advisory Board reports. I see we have none listed for this evening. Item J, Administrative report.
Mr. Mayor, we
Yep.
do have Randy Sweet, chair of our planning commission here, and she's gonna
All right,
report.
let's go ahead and give the mic to Randy.
Thank you. Y'all hear me? Okay. So I just wanted to let you know that as a part of the Planning Commission, we have formed a subcommittee to review ordinances and other documents relating to the commercial business district. And how this came about was the Planning Commission, along with the city staff over time, has been doing reviews of the ordinances. And when it came time to do reviews of the commercial business district, one of our commissioners, Roger Forsberg, he wanted to make sure that the folks from the commercial business district were able to come and provide feedback. And so we did do that in part of a meeting, but we found that the conversation got going, and it looked like we needed some focused discussion on it. So that's why we're forming the subcommittee. And then in your packet, you have information about what the sort of beginning charter is. And so we have information about, responsibilities and what that might look like. And so the idea is to have these discussions in September, probably for about 5 or 6 months 5 or 6 months, so that we can actually go through maybe looking at some strategic documents. So maybe the comprehensive plan and other things that influence what we want, in terms of us as a city for the commercial business district to look like. Some of the feedback that we received was it really is difficult to operate a business year round. The economic conditions are pretty tough. And so having ordinances that support what the businesses can do, it's just an important kind of an issue to give people time to provide feedback on that. And then looking at that and how our ordinances would support that in the commercial business district. So that's where we're at there. And I don't know if Liz or Heidi, if you had any other feedback in terms of what we're looking at doing.
No, I think if you look in the laydown, the first is just a short memo and that district charter that Chair Sweet was speaking of. And it has the timeline for what they hope to do. And I just wanted to point the council's attention to that we'll have one member of the Planning and Zoning Commission other than Chair Sweet, but also a member of the City Council. So on our next meeting will be an action memorandum if anybody wants to volunteer to represent the council on that subcommittee.
Okay, thank you. Randy, do you have anything additional?
Just, sorry, I'm not
leave
trying
it
to be
on.
smarter than the button. We're also soliciting membership in the committee. And so I've asked if all the business owners would get a letter so that they're aware that this subcommittee is forming. So we're making sure that everybody has visibility on this occurring. And then also the regular posting so that other people in our city as well as out the road, so that if people have information to share in terms of what might be thought of, that everybody has a way to contribute to the conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. I just want to comment. I thank the Planning Commission for taking into consideration on getting that set up in that format, and then meeting a little bit later in the fall, because I know that's going to be it's already controversial, and it's going to become more controversial if we actually try to follow the intent of our ordinances right now, because there's still a number of places that are not in conformance with our ordinances. I know there's differing opinions on what we should be doing with the commercial business district. And I think this will be a good opportunity for folks to attend. And, if they don't attend, then there will have been plenty of notice and opportunity for people to weigh in on what they'd like to see going forward. I know there's a number of hybrid solutions I've thought about based on that comment that you just shared about, how tough it is to do, business year round, in Seldovia. So I think a lot of people know that, but I think, in the same breath, we need to be, super cognizant of what our commercial business district looks like, so that it doesn't become, all people living there and how, house rentals or house ownership with no businesses. And I'm thoroughly convinced that's what it'll be if this is left unattended, or we don't get a handle on this going forward into the future. So appreciate you guys. I know you've been wanting to tackle that, and that's long overdue and ready for some good spirited debate and discussion here. So we'll be looking forward to attending some of those meetings and or getting some people to join that subcommittee.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Ms. Randy.
Yep, you bet.
So I know that P and Z can only allow for one person outside of city limits to sit on the board actively, but are you saying that people can sit on this, like you could have 50-50 people on Jack Block and city limits on the subcommittee? That would be neat to be able to have more diverse voices.
So I'm kind of, I'm not sure what the answer is. Let me just let you know that, so there's a couple things. One is membership on, the formal membership on the committee, it might be one thing, but the invitation is for whoever wants to participate, but this isn't to be something that's limiting, like every voice that wants to be participating in this is the intent of this, is because we need to hear everybody's voice that wants to express their views so that we can figure out what the best way forward is.
Sure, so it's a like an informative committee, not a voting committee, so you can have like broader community discussion.
Yes,
That what
I
I'm
think
getting?
that the intent was to have it be a workshop. I don't know if we have to formally meet and like as a committee and then break down into the workshop, but the idea is to have a workshop, basically a committee of the whole, so that the discussion is such that everybody can participate. And then one of the things that I will commit to doing is I'll put together at least a straw man of what could be a possible way of discussing it so that we kind of have a framework. And then, if, you know, we can always adjust it, but at least, you know, I think we really need to kind of think about, well, what do we want, kind of at the big picture, and then what is it that's causing problems in the ordinances or other things, that so that we're really clear about, well, if we want this, then we need to do this, and then those things just need to be fixed. I mean, I think it's like our ordinances fit for purpose for what we're trying to do, and to have a conversation so that we actually get the result that we want. So that's that's the idea anyway.
No, excellent, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Mayor Campbell.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Hey, I just got a quick question for you. I would be interested in assisting with that as far as the council seat. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, whether you think it'd be too much of a conflict of interest for myself, but
I do.
anyway, I'm just putting it out there. You know,
Okay, yep, I think we'll have more to talk about when that comes here. So, yeah, I think during the working group, I think we're gonna have a number of, I don't know if anyone should necessarily be qualified because there's a business owner. I think we're gonna have a number of differing opinions. I think we're gonna need input from everyone. And then ultimately it's gonna be up to, you know, the planning members to vote and make a, you know, recommendation. And then that's probably something that the council's going to have to, you know, weigh in as well. So yeah, we'll see when we get a little closer here. We'll look at this and go from there.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, Bobby.
if I could just make a comment. I'm a big supporter of, I know a lot of people aren't, but I like workshops. And I like that concept because I feel like those are times that everything can be discussed. And my time on the council has seen this issue come up time and time again. And we make decisions, we make quick decisions, we don't think them out. And then a couple of years later, it's like, oh yeah, I guess we need to discuss that again. Well, at some point, we have to be tired of discussing it. So I'm very much in favor of what you guys are doing, and I hope that you get everybody's comments and that you make a solid good decision as to what is going to be done in the commercial district. Because right now, there's things we have said in the past that we're gonna do, and there's really been no follow through. So, yeah, so I really support what you're doing, and if my time on the council wasn't short, I'd want to do that, get in on that too as a council member, but that's going to take a longer to do than I'm going to be on this council. So, yeah, so good. Thanks.
I think we need to go ahead, Randy.
I was just gonna say thank you very much.
Yeah, I think one thing we need to clarify too, and not, pointing any fingers at the planning commission. I mean, I think a lot of this, what drives this is lack of enforcement, right? I mean, there's no secrets here. All you got to do is drive around. You can see who's in compliance and who's not in compliance. It's no different than any of our ordinances, right? It's a tough duty to be the enforcer. So, I mean, that's all I'll say. We can leave that one alone, but that's what the crux of this is how do we enforce our current ordinances and our plan, our planning on our zoning laws, all of that too. That needs to be a discussion. As part of that is enforcement action. It can't be. I mean, otherwise it's just pointless to go through any of this. If there's the only teeth in any of this is if there's any enforcement action. So I think we all need to keep that in mind. That seems to be what drives all of this discussion is lack of enforcement. So.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead.
if I may, to follow up with that, so agreed, but also what actually started this discussion is we had a citizen come to the city and talk about the different definitions that are provided in the ordinances and how there are quite a few, especially concerning nightly rentals, that are similar. 5 different definitions that are similar, but not the same. And that is something that staff has run into over and over again over the years, is when there are things that overlap in the, it's hard to provide enforcement when there are loopholes and things that overlap in the code and things that are not super steadfast. So hopefully it'll be twofold, and having this discussion will help clear up some of those definitions, as well as be able to provide that piece for enforcement if needed.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, right? If you have definitions in code that are ambiguous, that makes it very tough to also be the enforcer, right? Yeah, if it's not clean, then it just makes it that much more complicated. So yeah, I mean, as part of that, those definitions need to get cleaned up as well. So we'll be doing the entire community a big service if we can make our ordinances clean, clear, concise, and not a lot of room for interpretation. So, all right, well, good discussion on all that. Thanks, Randy. Appreciate that. And obviously lots more to come. Okay, that was Randy with the Planning Commission on committee and advisory board reports. Administrative reports, I don't see any. That's correct.
Yeah, there are no administrative reports this meeting.
Okay, that'll take us to item K1. Ordinance 23-16, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, amending Seldovia Municipal Code, Title 18, Section 18.04.020, terms of commission. This was introduced at the 5/22/23 meeting. This will be found on page 8 of your packet. And Liz, you can take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this ordinance came about and it was referred from the Planning Commission. So I'm introducing it on their behalf. There was nothing in our code to address the vacation of a seat on the Planning Commission. So we were advised to add something to that code. And what we have here is that ordinance, and the addition to it is based on the Kenai Peninsula Borough and Homer's code. for how their vacation of a member on a commission would work. So it's kind of take from them. There's also included examples from several other municipalities that are after that, starting on page 9. But this is what the planning commission has recommended. And there is something in their bylaws as well, but it only applies to absences. So it was suggested that that would be, should go in code. I don't know if Heidi, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay. I guess I'll turn that over to the council for discussion.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate that. We'll go ahead and open it up to council for any comments or questions on ordinance 23-16.
Mayor Campbell,
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I just have a couple of questions for the clerk. The stuff that's bolded and underlined up top, that is what you're looking to change the verbiage on, correct?
Yeah, through the chair, the stuff that's bold and underlined is what is being added.
Okay,
to
and
the
then
ordinance.
down on page 10, the highlighted yellow stuff, that's going to be added as well.
Through the mayor, the highlighted stuff is just the parts of the Kenai Peninsula and Homer Code that we've incorporated. So that's just showing where.
But it's
Where
not
are
going to be
you?
added to that.
No, these
Okay.
are just examples of code
Okay.
from other municipalities.
Okay,
The ordinance is just page 8.
I'm good. That's all I had.
Okay, thanks, John. Yeah, basically that, I think that highlighted item stuff on page 10 is essentially what this is. When you read both of those. So I have one question, and I don't know, I don't want to throw a big monkey wrench in this, but so this is on item B4. It says a member is convicted of a felony or of an offense involving a violation of their oath of office. So can you be a felon and be on the planning commission, or does this felony have to be committed while, or you have to be convicted of a felony while you're on the planning commission to be to have cause for removal?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, it is a violation of their oath while on commission or felony that involves that. So it's not any felony.
Okay, so is that the intent? It's a felony that involves the offense of the violation of their oath?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so it's the felony or of an offense involving a
Well,
violation.
yeah, to just clarify, it's a felony or any other offense that would violate their oath of office. For a felony or a misdemeanor it doesn't have to be a felony, but if it violates their oath of office.
Okay. And I'm sure there's something somewhere that outlines all of those. I don't recall off the top of my head.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
that was one of my questions also. So is the oath of office in our ordinances? Where do we find that? So a person can refer back to it. And also, this is a great housekeeping item that we need to have on our books. But I was a little bit confused by B4 myself. But there is an oath of office from the city of Seldovia, or are we talking the statutes of the state of Alaska or the borough?
There is both from the city of Seldovia, and there is a statute for Alaska as well.
And that is written up in our, where would one find that?
We're gonna look for where it is in code.
Just to add on to that, so who is, I mean, I guess it depends on how cut and dry it is, what it says, but who's the one who's deciding they violated? Is that us as the council? Or is that the city manager or planning commission? Who decides that?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
So there isn't an appeal process in code, but it would start, I think, initially in the city office, and whether that involved legal. Or you would potentially you would hire, or you would have a third party and provide the investigation for the situation. And then, yes, that would then be referred back to council for council's discretion.
Okay, any other questions or comments while they're looking? Yeah, generally, I think it's a good idea to have, this stuff written down, in code, trying to keep it as clean as possible. So I see that this language is modeled after the boroughs. So they've obviously, gone through a number of either iterations over the years, or, this has been in code for a number of years like this. So I'm sure it holds up under the test of time. We can move on to the public. If there's anyone from the public that wants to weigh in on ordinance 23-16. Yep, go ahead, Laurel. I see your hands up.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So I just kind of, as a spirit of default, it would be that this same expectation would be of any committee member or council member. Is that kind of fair? Like that this would be across the board? Not particular to planning and zoning?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
Yes, this code is specific to the Planning Commission. It is in Title 18. I am looking for oath of office for Planning Commission, and that may not be in code, but it is definitely in Alaska statute. And I'm working on pulling that up, that all public officials, whether appointed or elected, do have to take an oath of office, and they do. All of our public commission or Planning Commission members and city council members do take an oath of office before entering. City council vacation terms are a little bit different because they are elected members and not appointed. So there is a difference, but that is something we can look for in the future, is if we want to set up handbook or policy and code that's specific for all commissions. I would love, it's been on my list, and I would pass the torch to Liz for in the future to have a generalized application form for the different commissions that we operate. Thankfully, or maybe not thankfully, the city of Seldovia doesn't operate as many commissions as some of the other communities do. But this ordinance is specific to the Planning Commission.
And if I can ask just for clarification, we have commissions and we have committees?
Yes, there is a difference between a commission and a committee. This is
Yeah.
specific to the Planning Commission.
Right. So in the city, is there any other commission besides the planning commission?
Yes, there is the Cemetery Commission.
Oh, I've only ever heard of that as a committee. So, okay. So we have a beautification committee at the city as well, right?
Not formally, I believe that's through the Chamber of Commerce. Oh, you're talking about with the council champions? Yeah,
Well, long history of the city of Seldovia having people involved with beautification of the city.
yeah. But
So like Susie Stranick represents the chamber and she represents the city, so she's a good example. There's two different things, so just wondering what's committees and what's commissions, and so they have to be appointed to be a commissioner and they can volunteer to be on a committee. Does that sound about right?
So there are ad hoc committees, but at this time, I don't believe there's an official committee. I would double check on that, but I don't think there's an official committee recognized by the city. There is a subcommittee that the Planning Commission has started. But at this point, we do have the planning commission and then the cemetery commission. I know in the past, there's been a Ports and Harbor Commission. There's
Parks and
been-
Rec.
Yeah, Parks and Rec is a committee, but they are not currently active. So if I can definitely put together a history of different committees and commissions in the community, but at this time, we're talking about the planning commission.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Laurel. Yeah, that, yeah, there's a couple good points there on that, just keeping that all clear on what we actually have in the city. So, and then whether or not it's elected, appointed or volunteer. So, yeah, so again, in this case, this will ordinance 23-16 will apply only to members of the Planning Commission. Okay, so you guys were looking to see, and you came to the conclusion that, let's see, what were we looking for in code for the actual oath, or what were we looking for to see if it was in code?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we were looking for the oath, which is not in code, but I believe it's in the Alaska statutes, so whatever.
Okay, so it refers back to Alaska statute then?
Yes, it's the same oath that the commission and council members.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Okay, we'll bring it back to council, unless there's anyone else in the public that wants to speak on ordinance 23-16.
No, we have no one else that wants to speak, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion. We adopt ordinance 23-16.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt ordinance 23-16 by Rojas. We have a second by Kennedy. Any further discussion on ordinance 23-16 before we vote? Okay, hearing none. We'll go ahead and vote on the approval of ordinance 23-16. All those in favor, Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick,
Aye.
Payton,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Rojas.
I,
Okay, motion passes with a vote of 6-0, and that's the approval of ordinance 23-16. And I do just want to let the record reflect that prior to that, member Keithley had joined us. She was listed absent in the previous at the beginning of the meeting. So we do have all 6 council members present now. Okay, that was item K1. We'll go ahead and move on to item K2, ordinance 23-17, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, amending Seldovia Municipal Code, Chapter 2.32, election, sections 2.32.080 through 2.32.150. This was introduced on 5/22/2023, and this will be found on page 28 of your packet. And we'll let the city clerk take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this ordinance is to amend some of our election codes, just to kind of keep it in line. On page 35, there's a memo that kind of lists out each change by section. But the main things are to address where the language is on the question ballot envelope, to move that from the back to the front, so that no longer have to have somebody sign their oath to saying they can vote after they voted, because you have to put the ballot inside the envelope. So the solution to that was to put that oath on the front of the envelope. And I have some examples here if the council members in chambers want to look, but so that would just change where that oath was located to the front of envelope versus the back. And then the other main change would be for question ballot review, to make sure that there's somebody besides the city clerk involved in that process. So it'd add the election board member, because it's always good to have more than one person responsible for reviewing ballots. all the other changes are in there as well. And I guess I'll just be available for questions.
Okay, thank you. And I see there's a number of, spelling, some general housekeeping on wording, and then obviously the big ones with with what you just discussed. So, and the changes on where that's located on the ballot. All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for council comments and questions.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say I'm in support of this and glad to see we're cleaning up our information that we have on the books. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Anyone else? Okay, I'll chime in as well. Yeah, agreed. Then appreciate the effort from time to time. These ordinance, even as simple as they seem, we have, minor changes, or we come across certain scenarios where things aren't quite working out in all practicality. Then it's nice to see, someone go through there, come up with the list of amendments that we need, and then bring it back to council for consideration. So I as well am in favor of the proposed changes listed starting on page 35, 36, 37. So appreciate the administration's efforts on going through these and identifying the changes. Anyone else on council? Okay, we'll go ahead and kick it over to the public. Does anyone from the public wish to weigh in on ordinance 23-17?
We have no public comment at this time.
Okay, no public comment on ordinance 23-17. We'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action.
Make a motion, we accept ordinance 23-17.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve ordinance 23-17 by Sweat. I believe the second was by Swick. Any further discussion on ordinance 23-17 before we vote?
Was it Swick or Rojas, Mayor?
Yes, the second was Rojas.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry
thank
about that. Yep, sorry. Okay, second was Rojas. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, any further discussion on ordinance 23-17 before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on ordinance 23-17. All those in favor, Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick, Peyton,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
and Rojas.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0, and that is the approval of ordinance 23-17. Okay, thanks for the discussion on that. Item L, unfinished business. I don't believe we have any tonight. Item M, new business. Item M1, resolution 23-44, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, providing support for the Seldovia fly-in through a one-time donation of $1,600 to assist with the cost of insurance for the 2023 event. And this will be found on page 38 of your packet. I think it's actually on, let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the resolution's on page 38. And then there's a letter that Stephanie Blanchard had submitted to the council and had actually walked us through last meeting. And I think it's something that the council might want to consider. Obviously, this adds a pretty nice, there's a certain number of events throughout the year that add a certain amount of economic benefit for both the city and the local businesses within the community. So this is obviously turned into a larger event maybe than was originally anticipated. I know the aviation community is rather large and always looking for, neat places to go. It typically kicks off with the May Day fly-in in Valdez. I think there's a few other places around the state that have a couple things like this, but obviously Seldovia has become super busy with this event. So she came to us requesting help with the insurance, which is about $2,000. This request ends up being a total of, I think it's $1,600 on our end, and I would look forward to any further discussion from council on this.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the one-time donation is a good idea. I would be curious if the chamber could actually report back to the city council. I know there's a lot of people who camp out at the airport. I mean, are all the B&Bs really full? I know that Stephanie had said that the B&Bs are full. I would just be interested in how much impact it actually has to the economy. It's a great event for anybody who enjoys watching airplanes or being a part of it. But I know there's lots of people camping. So are there people coming and actually using the B&Bs? Are they using the hotel? How much impact is it really having, and how much are we going to contribute? But a one-time donation I'm in favor of. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Ashley, go ahead.
I'll speak on kind of on behalf of the chamber and give some back information as I've kind of mulled this over myself, because I love all the events that the different organizations or private people put on. And of course, as a business owner in town and part of the chamber, which our job is to support the businesses, I want to do that. I'm a little conflicted on having the city step into that role because we do have the chamber, and the chamber does donate every year. And the ask and the donation has been $1,000, and we did approve that for her this year. As much as I would love to support this, as I want to be careful that we're not opening a can of worms, because there's other events and organizations that I know would love to have some support as well. And I don't know if that's really the role that our city's ready to step into. The city of Valdez is much larger than us. They're at almost like 4,000 people. We're 256 people. So their budget might be a little bit different, and they might be in a different health in their budget. So it's something we could talk about when the city has money to support things like this. But I'd like to hear other people's thoughts, because it does support me as a business owner. But with my city hat on, I'm not feeling that this is appropriate for us at this time.
Okay,
Mr.
thank you,
Mayor?
Ashley. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. I actually lived in Valdez for almost 10 years, and that's the pipeline community and a fishing community, and they're rich. I don't know if you've been to Valdez, but their walking trails are paved and they spray for their bugs. They're fancy. We have dirt roads. I agree with the idea that I agree with the concept of supporting business and tourism and stimulating people coming into the community. But I think that Ashley is correct in the idea that donating money to an event like that sets us up for, why not Tug Nuts? Why not 4th of July? Why not Solstice Festival? I think in-kind donations are more appropriate for our city at this time, like use of the pavilion space, maybe like donating camping space, a couple camping spaces at the RV park or something like that. Nominal donations that doesn't take money out of our budget, where we could be putting money towards fixing fingers so that when the tug nuts come in, we have nice infrastructure that they want to return to outside of that event. I think that we have been making strides towards a more fiscal financial responsibility and getting ourselves in a more healthy place. And that's good. And in the future, I hope that we do have mad money to spend on these events that bring people in our community. But I don't feel good spending money like that on an event like this at this time. I do like the event. I do like having people here. But I'm not really comfortable with that at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, when I read this, that's the first thing that came to my mind is this going to open us up to a lot of other folks that would want donations from us? So I'm kind of on the fence with this. I understand that it does bring, folks to the community and so on and so forth, but is this in our best interest? I don't think it is. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just say I agree with all of that. I think that there are many other ways that this event can be funded, and I don't believe that us using the taxpayers' money for it is the way to go. If taxpayers want to support this, they can do it privately, or businesses can chip in. I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel like this is our responsibility.
Okay, thank you. John, you got anything to weigh in? You're the last one.
I've been kind of quiet on purpose. I don't know that I have an opinion about it.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and go over to the public. If there's anyone from the public that would like to weigh in on resolution 23-44. Laurel, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would concur with the council members who indicated that it would be a concern that it one taps into a fund that I'm not sure exists for dollars to spend that are available, extra dollars at this point in time for the city of Seldovia, and also that it would establish a precedent that's maybe not one that you would fully grasp until folks did come along with their requests. But I really do like the fact that the chamber has been an active participant with donating, and other organizations have as well. And just as an FYI, there's a number of events that happen in the community throughout the year that whether the chamber, the tribe, private businesses, etc., are asked to provide donation, and they do. And so I think that the fly-in is one of those great events that just as it's organized and as people partner with Stephanie, I think the ability to do fundraising away from the city's coffers, but with other groups has great potential. Just takes that organization and encouragement. So getting the word out there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Laurel. Anyone else from the public that wishes to weigh in on resolution 23-44?
I don't see any other hands, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action. If there's any additional.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
comment, yeah. After hearing that the chamber donates $1,000, it's a little bit much for the city to donate $1,600. And there are most everything like the Art Council and different other organizations in the chamber, the city does do in kind. But I do agree with the other council members that this may be something that we're setting a precedence for, and also taking money from the budget once again for items, and they're important items, but perhaps I like the idea of maybe Stephanie and different groups can fundraise and cover those costs. So I would go along with the rest of the council opinion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Okay, I'll go ahead and listening to the council then, we'll see if anybody wants to offer up a motion to approve resolution 23-44. Okay, hearing none, then it will die on the table. Since no one is willing to offer up a resolution to approve that, and listening to the comments of the council. Okay, thanks everyone for that discussion. We'll move on to item M2. Resolution 23-45, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, awarding the contract for request for proposals 02-2023, creating a drainage map and stormwater management plan for the City of Seldovia to HDR Engineering, Inc., and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute the appropriate documents. This will be found on page 40 of your packet, and I'll let the city manager go ahead and present on this one.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if you remember through Resolution 2330, the Seldovia City Council authorized the acceptance of an Alaska Clean Water Actions Grant for the creation of a drainage map and stormwater management plan for the city of Seldovia. And included with that resolution was authorization for the city manager to issue a request for proposals for the project. That was completed last month, and the closing date for that proposal committee consisted of myself, City Clerk Diamond, and Finance Officer Yeager. We received 3 proposals. 3 proposals were eligible to be considered. They were all extremely close. And I would have felt comfortable accepting any one of the proposals. They were all very good proposals. HDR Engineering had a little bit of I think a leg up just because of some of the experience that they have both with the community and through the state on other stormwater management plan. They had some pretty good references and referrals with a lot of local knowledge through Soldotna, Kenai Peninsula Borough, Seldovia itself, as well as they were able to touch on some of the needs of the city a little bit more concerning snow removal plan, green space plan, and as well as being able to review the city code of ordinances and provide recommendations pertaining to the code of ordinances at the end of the project. So with that, we did send out a notice of intent to award contingent on this meeting and approval of resolution 2345 to award that contract to HDR Engineering, Inc. It will go through December 31st, 2024. This grant straddles 3 fiscal years, including fiscal year 23, which we were just weeks away from. So if it's approved, we'll go ahead and issue the contract and work through the first steps as provided in the grant. As this grant opportunity, the funds do not roll over fiscal year to fiscal year. So with that, that's the recommendation. And I'm happy to provide any more information.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. Appreciate that. We'll go ahead and open it up to council for any additional questions or comments on resolution 23-45.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, so when we originally decided to accept that grant for this proposal, I guess we didn't ask enough questions, I don't think. I'm wondering, is this going to open us up as far as snow removal? I'm not sure where to start. When they put this together, this plan together, are there specific guidelines they have to follow to recommend to us Like as far as the clean water thing, like will we still be able to dump snow in the slough and all that sort of thing? Or is that something that's gonna have to stop? Which then in turn could cost us a lot of money, for snow removal. Because we'll have to find another place to put it. So where does that take us?
Through the mayor. So this
Yeah,
is,
go ahead.
would be an internal advisory document for the city staff and the city of Seldovia as a whole. It'll help us move forward with being able to obtain other grants and planning for future projects related to stormwater in the city. It will provide recommendations based on current regulations, but it's not an authority telling us that we need to do these items, and it's not an authority telling us that we need to be in compliance. It's to help us plan for the future so that we can be.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that makes it a little clearer. I would be concerned about, having to follow specific guidelines and then have it cost us a bunch of money that we're not prepared for yet.
Right. I think this document's the first step into looking into the future so that we can apply for grants so
Yeah.
that we can follow if there are things that we're out of
Right,
compliance for.
I mean, we really should, but can we really, realistically? So, okay, thanks.
Bobby, just for the record, just for your own peace of mind, we don't add chemicals to our streets. So, I mean, although there is always going to be like there's leakage from vehicles, blah, blah, blah. But because we're not actively adding salts or like icebreakers up on, right? We don't salt the streets, are we do?
We use sand or gravel.
Yeah.
And
We add beach debris to the, so
Right. Well,
we're
I
not
get that.
currently
Right.
outside of any type of advisory
Right.
for our
But
area, just so
eventually-
you know.
Eventually, I mean, it's coming.
I can clear this up for you real quick.
Okay,
It's
you
already
do
here.
that.
It's already here. Anything in this report will bring us current with current stormwater management plans. And those are all required by the EPA and administered by the DEC in the state of Alaska. So it's probably a stretch that we're even still dumping into the slough, whether we do it or not. So
I'm sure.
they'll tell us as part of this process if that's currently allowed or not. This process is no different than our sewer issue that everyone's been turning a blind eye to for the past 20 years. So it's here and there's no getting around it. So it'll be a series of recommendations and then we can do with it whatever it is we can do or are able to do until the regulatory hammer falls, which will be whatever the DEC or the EPA feel like hammering down.
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I agree with that statement.
All right, anyone else?
I too agree with what Mayor Campbell just stated.
Okay, let's go ahead and go to the public, see if anyone from the public wants to weigh in on resolution 23-45.
We have no hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, just we'll come back to the council then for final action. Yeah, I mean, there may be, some recommendations in here that we don't want to hear. For example, on a construction site, you can't have any kind of discharge, whether it be silt or, anything that goes into any kind of body of water. We look at our storm drain system and we see what happens on a storm event. Everything's brown and it goes to the ocean. Bigger cities have found ways to deal with that. I mean, there's fundamental things I disagree with when it comes to, Mother Earth and, dirt being carried from one part of the town out to the ocean and it getting washed back up on. It's a big nasty circle of life, right? I mean, the whole intent of these is to make sure that we're not getting any chemicals or anything like that, into our waterways. So yeah, I mean, this bottom line is it's a couple $100,000 of in-depth detail reporting recommendations that we would not otherwise have the ability to do without a grant. So I think this will be a good thing. It'll be like any of these other things that we're going through, right? They're long-term planning documents. This tells us, okay, if our storm system is not doing the job, then that means it's outdated, right? Then we have to look, that's got to be part of a bigger infrastructure project in the future. If we go to redo our streets and our water and our sewer, well, then our storm drain will probably have to be done as well. And it may, instead of flowing out to the slough, it may have to, flow to a different collection site. I don't know, but in the end, yeah, like the manager said, this will be an internal planning document that the council will be able to look at, have some pretty good idea. It'll be basically a report card of, what's happening with our wastewater and our stormwater and all the above here. So yeah, I think this will be a good thing.
Mayor Campbell?
Yep, go ahead, John.
There's actually after contact or conversation with Jan Yeager and the city manager, I'm a little bit more comfortable with it being an internal document. But the other thing is I wanted to share is there can actually be a lot of positive to this plan. It will help us plan for other things in the future. Like I've seen municipalities be able to receive grants for Vector truck for storm drain cleaning, and these type of instances I've seen where people have received federal dollars to provide secondary containment for oil, for example, at our harbor waste oil and stuff like that. Or maybe at the city shop, I've seen where equipment has been purchased, repair equipment has been purchased under these stormwater funds. So there is an upside to it as well.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I think this resolution 2345, setting up this proposal and what it's going to do for Seldovia, setting us up for future grants that we can get is a great thing. So I applaud the staff for getting this together. And it'll be an awakening. And if it helps with pollution, if we have that going on, then good for us. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Anyone else on resolution 23-45? Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve resolution 23-45 then.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 23-45.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Rojas to approve resolution 23-45 with a second by Keithley. Any further discussion before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution 23-45, Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick,
Aye.
Payton,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Rojas.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0, and that is resolution 23-45. All right, appreciate everyone's discussion on that. Next item will be item M2, M3. This will be action memorandum 23-05. This is a letter of support for Seldovia Village Tribe's federal service area competition application to maintain their community health center status. This will be found on page 51 of your packet, and we'll let the city manager present on this one.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we did receive a request from SVT Health and Wellness Health Center Director Emma Schubin, and on page 53. And you can see on page 54, the city of Seldovia did provide a letter of support in 2019 for the same application. And the letter is located on page 52.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up to council for any comments or questions. Okay, no comments or questions from council. We'll go ahead and go to public. Anyone from the public wish to weigh in on action memorandum 23-05?
We have no hand. Oh, we have Laurel.
Yep, Laurel, it went up and then down, then back
I
up.
was up and then it disappeared, so I didn't know.
Yeah, go ahead, Laurel.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. And just a note that on the Kenai Peninsula, there are 3 organizations that have community health centers, federally recognized community health centers. One is operated in Seward, one is operated in the Kenai Soldotna area, and then SVT Health and Wellness, which is Seldovia, Homer, and Anchor Point, where we have our 3 locations. And the other 2 are private enterprises, and then this one, of course, is run here by a tribal government. If I could make a note on the action memorandum, if this is a document that you're saving, the summary statement, the DBA, the business name is SVT Health and Wellness with an ampersand for the and. So instead of spelling out Seldovia Village Tribe Health and Wellness, it's SVT Health and Wellness, and then the in parentheses would reflect what you see in Emma's letter, SVTHW.
Gotcha. Okay. No, sounds.
Clerical notes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Laurel. Okay. Anyone else, Liz, with their hand up from the public?
Yeah, that's all we have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action on memorandum 23-05. Any additional comments or questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve action memorandum 23-05.
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I make a motion to approve action memorandum 2305 with the clerical edits as well.
Okay, thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept action memorandum 23-05 with the clerical edits that Ms. Laurel Hiltz informed us of, and that was by Kennedy. And then we have a second by Rojas. Any further discussion on action memorandum 23-05 before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of action memorandum 23-05. All those in favor, Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Rojas.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. All right, last item for this evening is item M4. This will be public comment and discussion on Kenai Peninsula Borough Ordinance 20-23-11. Substitute an ordinance amending the Borough Code KPB 2.40.015 and KPB 2.40.030 to reduce the number of seats on the Planning Commission and provide for an orderly process for the seat reduction. This will be found on page 55 and of the packet, and we're going to go ahead and do this as a committee of the whole. And again, this is public comment on discussion on an ordinance that has already been passed. And Heidi, if you want to just bring us up to speed on what went down here, and then we can see if there's any additional comment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just wanted to bring this to the council's attention because it's been mentioned before in previous city managers' reports, as well as provided through email, the original ordinance to the city council. So during the last Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly meeting, that was last Tuesday, or Tuesday of last week, there was a public hearing for ordinance 2311. And you can see in your packet, it's the original ordinance begins on I don't see a page number on it. I apologize, but it's towards the end of the packet. It's the last ordinance provided. We did receive emails from Soldotna, the city of Soldotna, who were championing for the municipalities to maintain a city seat on the Planning Commission. They provided a memorandum and an alternative substitute ordinance that requested that the city seats were limited to 2 and that they would be on a rotational base. From what I understand, there was a committee meeting prior to the assembly meeting where this ordinance was discussed, and it was mentioned and the city seats were talked about. And then during the assembly meeting, the substitute was initiated to remove to maintain all of the city seats except for Seldovia's. So you will see substitute ordinance 23-11 on the second page after that, page 2 of the ordinance. I'm sorry, it doesn't have a page number on it, but I can count them out if that helps towards the end of the packet. Under 2.40015 membership, under B, it states that a city must have a population of over 2,000 residents to have a designated city seat. And then below that, notwithstanding, a resident of the city of Seldovia may serve on the Homer City seat if approved by the Homer City Council. And then goes on below that to remove Seldovia from the city seats. I did do a little bit further investigation, knowing that there was a legislative change to the ordinances in the last year, and that was provided in your packet under SCS HB 227, and that was finalized last July, and the bill removed that the commission members shall be apportioned so that the number of members from home rule and first class cities reflects the proportion of borough population residing in home rule and first class cities located in the borough. So they no longer have to have a reflection of home rule and first class cities in proportion to the borough population. That was a big part of the problem when speaking with President Johnson last week after being made aware of the situation, is that the Planning Commission currently had 14 seats and the Assembly had 9. And with the ever growing and expanding population of the borough, especially the borough population outside of city limits, the unincorporated area is a lot larger than city populations. So as the borough grew, the seats, the number of seats that they had to have. He said when he started back 20 years ago, he originally was on the planning commission and it was 11 seats. And then one day it was 13 and now it's 14 and it continued to grow. So this has been presented many, many times in many, many different forms. It did pass during the meeting. And speaking with President Johnson, he recommended that if we had any public comment, just for consideration and future awareness from the city of Seldovia, to please provide that. They will have a discussion about what those districts look like, at the at-large districts, and the representation looks like at their next meeting. This was brought forward as part of a discussion during the planning commission meeting last Wednesday. And the planning commission did make a motion that a comment be provided to the borough that requests that the current at-large member for the South Peninsula Hospital area, or South Peninsula District area, who is a member from Anchor Point, be in regular correspondence with the Seldovia Planning Commission, and that when the seat becomes available again, will be in 2025, that there'll be consideration for an individual from this side of the bay for that seat. So if council has any other items or things that they would like to include in a public comment, I would be happy to write a letter and provide that to the assembly. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Heidi. Appreciate that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and open it up to anyone that can be public or council if there's any additional comments, questions, clarifications. So basically, we've gone now, in a nutshell, we've gone from 14 to 9, with 4 of those being Homer, Kenai, Seward, and Soldotna, and then the remaining seats will be the 5 at-large districts. That's on page 56. It'll be the Nikiski District, the Ridgeway, Funny River, Sterling District, the Cooper Landing, Hope, Eastern Peninsula District. The 4th one will be the Californsky Kasilof District, and then the 5th one will be the South Peninsula District. So, and that's the one obviously that we're gonna fall inside of here. So, any additional questions, comments, thoughts? Yeah, I think my only thought is just the way the process went. That I think we all knew eventually this was going to happen, and then with the legislative change, that basically gave them the green light to do it. I think it was just a matter of time. It would have been nice if it was a little more transparent and out in the open. And if there's a substitute, I mean, we certainly didn't have any time to offer comment. And I don't know, short of losing our seat, I mean, we don't like to do that. Obviously, we're a very small community. I can't say if this new system's going to work any better or worse, but I guess we've got, a couple years here to see until the seat becomes available, and we'll see what kind of correspondence and, what kind of interaction we get with the rep from Anchor Point, that's going to be representing the South Peninsula District. So that was my only thoughts on that. Anyone else?
Mayor Campbell,
Yep. Go ahead, George.
just for clarification, isn't this the same seat that Paula used to have? It is. And the one that's been vacant for an extended period of time. Yeah, it's unfortunate for sure. I was just curious for clarification. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, you bet, John. Okay, well, hearing no additional comments, Heidi, I think, given your discussions with Brent and understanding, and understanding what went, how this all came to be, and, what the final action is, I think at this point we we stand by and see how it goes here over the next couple of years. And hopefully, we're not going to be the only ones. If there's, we obviously went from 14 to 9, so that's a big drop. So I'm sure the assembly will hear about it, if I'm sure there's going to be some hiccups, and maybe it'll be smooth, who knows? But if there's a bunch of big mess, the assembly will certainly hear about it, and we will hear about it as well. And there'll be more to come in the future. So we'll let the process play out and I guess go from there. All right, so that'll conclude item M4. And so we will not submit any additional comments. And then that will bring us to the city manager's report.
Already, geez. I'll try to keep it short. Page 14 of the laydown. Pull it up here. Okay, so quick. The second VPSO position, we had interviews a couple of weeks ago, and the position was offered to Amy Morgan, who you guys might remember also applied for the city manager position. She accepted the position. She came into the office and said hello this morning with Jared. That was really nice. And she'll be going to Anchorage this week to complete her hiring paperwork, and will start July 1, 2023 as a ride along with Officer Patterson. She'll have like a polo uniform, but won't be a full uniform, as she just is another body checking out the ropes, seeing how it goes. Then she'll go to Academy the third week in July and be back in September. So welcome aboard, Miss Morgan. Public Works staffing projects. I know, it's been asked what projects are happening or why aren't signs getting posted? Just what's going on with the Public Works Department in the city. And I wanted to take a moment and just make it clear that we are, as Jordan stated, on 1 1/3 public members or Public Works staff is our crew right now. With that, they are still completing weekly projects, and the list is long. Every week it's something new, but have completed a lot of projects over this last month. I know that the highway parking signs aren't out yet, but that is on the list hopefully for this week. If something else more pertinent doesn't bump ahead of it, but they are trying as hard as they can to just get things checked off as they come about, along with the daily tasks like boat launches, water turn on and offs, and they connected 2 new water services this month. So we have another 4 on the list, but we are seeing growth and development in the city. So that's fantastic. MPP improvement project update, as the project is wrapping up. You'll see that they completed the sheetrock and painting in the bathrooms here. Plumbing should be done. Everything is supposed to be finished by Wednesday, and I think they feel pretty confident that they are complete with their portion of the project. The fire hall shower is the only thing that's still pending. There was some back and forth on how that was going to be accomplished. The plumbing has been completed for it, as well as the cement pad was poured. But instead of doing a manufacture, because of the small space and the way the plumbing was, instead of having a pre-manufactured basin installed, we're actually going to have it tiled. I think Jim Warba is going to do that for us. So that's fantastic. And that's going to actually occur outside of the grant, originally as part of the grant process, because it is a governmental space. That shower was designated for ARPA funds. So it's still designated for ARPA funds, even though it'll be a little bit behind the grant schedule, the grant closeout. It won't impact the grant is what I'm trying to say, but it'll still get done. And I think we'll see it done in the next, I'm hoping, couple of weeks. Otherwise, their work is done as of this Wednesday, and then the grant closes out on the 30th. Property insurance increase. I know we've talked about this during the budget cycle. but I just wanted to provide it here in the packet. They forewarned us that we could see up to a 10% increase. We did see a little bit of a decrease because we no longer have police liability insurance. However, I was shocked, to say the least, when I saw the notice of contribution memo, and that going from 109,000 to 106,000 was how much we saved this year. The large portion of that is due to our property insurance. And when speaking with our insurer, that's the market right now. Things are jumping up significantly because of the cost to reconstruct buildings, should they need it. And also because of the building values being increased, accounting for the increase of building costs, AML-JIA is no longer offering 3-year participant membership agreements. The market conditions are just too poor for that. It's too shaky. So this is our last year with our 3-year agreement with AML-JIA. We'll have to renew for 2025. And it will be year to year from here on out. Small education material update. I hope you guys saw Martin Media around town last week, taking video, taking some images. One thing that they offer to do for us, which I will take it, is Josiah asked me, he said, "What's it going to take to update your guys' website photo?" And I said, "Well, a new photo." He said, "Done." So I'm hoping to see that. That should be a fun, just bonus to go with it. But they are coming back this week. It was still a little bit rainy, which was hard to anticipate when they were originally planning their schedule. And the fish were still a little bit slow. So they didn't get a lot of action shots of fish biting. And we missed Miss Vivian due to her travels. And there was one other interview that was scheduled that fell through. So they are going to come back one more day tomorrow. See them out and about, definitely give them a smile, and hopefully the fish are biting. And you'll see a beautiful banner that was put together as well that will be hanging on our HEA light poles here soon, that are included with this grant. We're actively pursuing quotes for rack cards, educational signage and stickers, banners on its way. I'm excited. I saw the Seldovia Arts Council ones. They look fantastic. So I think they had 4 or 5. We have one. They're going to go up on the poles down the street. Just a little bit of advertising for events happening throughout the summer here in Seldovia, bright and colorful. Should be pretty exciting, Mr. Mayor. Note on community cleanup day. You can read that at your own accord, but I am expecting that we'll continue it next year. Maybe we'll do a poop challenge again. We'll have to see if Councilmember Sweat wants to volunteer as a community member. But Councilmember Keithley did have a great suggestion that we include with our cleanup day, a project day where we do an announcement of various projects around the city that we would be interested in seeing volunteer efforts. Similar to, maybe
adoption projects.
Yeah, like adoption projects. And just see who's out there that says, man, I have that skill and I would be willing to put some time into that. Or even if there are individuals out there that are like, I've been staring at this one item for years and I would love to see it get done. So we'll work on that for next year, and hopefully that will be a great success. I think that was a fantastic idea. The city did do, just so you know, the city did do a proclamation for Karen Bornheimer, or Mayor Campbell issued a proclamation. I don't know how familiar you all are with Ms. Bornheimer. She is a force to be reckoned with. It did a lot of amazing things for our community. However, she also doesn't like a lot of recognition or praise. So in honor of her, the proclamation was shared at an EMS gathering, was passed around. I think it sounded like it was a lovely event, but that is included in this packet just in case you guys wanted to see it. And I would love to say staff update. All the positions are filled in the city except for Public Works, which is fantastic to see. I will be gone this Friday for personal appointments in Homer. We are still working through the CBS request for Block Street. sewer replacement and the raw water transmission replacement projects. We are still waiting for our other various projects, award announcements. For instance, VSW planning and construction project should be announced July 7th. PIDP doesn't have an announced date, so we're just kind of holding on for that one. The Denali Commission grant award notification timeline is June. For the Seldovia Slough sewer improvements gap funding application. Waiting to hear from the Raise grant. KPB is working to finalize their grant with the federal highways for safe streets and roads for all, which all the municipalities are able to be a part of. I am meeting with the DOT division director and area planner to discuss an MOA pertaining to the city of Seldovia's road material CDS request. And we did submit a letter to the CDC for the approval of the approval to purchase a vehicle through COVID funding through the HEC grant. So we will wait to hear back from that. That's for a new refuse truck. Otherwise, if you see anything else on this list you have any questions for, please let me know.
Great, thanks Heidi, appreciate that. Any questions for the city manager on the manager's report? Okay, sounds good. All right, item O, informational items not requiring action, none. Item P, executive session, none. Item Q, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. Kennedy.
Nothing at this time.
Swick,
No comment.
Peyton,
No comment.
Keithley,
No comment.
Sweat.
Well, I have a comment. Thank you to the staff as usual for all your hard work and putting all this information together for us. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And Rojas.
Oh, thank you everyone for your hard work, keeping the city going. And a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. All right, next meeting will be a regular meeting. It'll be on June 26, 2023 at 6 p.m. And I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay,
Second.
any objections? Okay, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Okay, everyone have a good night.